Welcome to Procedureflow. In this short video, we provide some basic information for new users who have the contributor role. Procedureflow allows you to turn complicated processes into a series of more visually consumable flowcharts that help users become experts faster. It's just a matter of completing each step by following the arrows through the shapes until it's finished. In some places, there are hyperlinks between flows allowing the user to obtain the right level of detail exactly when they need it without searching or reading through pages of documentation. And once you've completed the steps in a subflow, you can simply click your browser's back button, which takes you back to where you left off in the main process. The yellow back glow acts as a bookmark to show you where you left off, so you know where to continue on from. Let's talk about the shapes for a minute. Procedureflow is designed with simplicity in mind, so there are only 7 shapes that you need to remember. The action shape represents a direct action that must be taken. For example, this could mean filling in a field in your system, asking a customer a question, or advising them of something. The decision diamond represents a choice or a fork in the road. Depending on the answer, you'll follow a different path or different steps. The data shape represents information that you should take note of and remember because you might need it later on in the process, so write it down or make a mental note. The backstory is for providing additional contextual information to help your end user understand the nuances or specific details about the process. The endpoint represents the end of the process. You see this shape and you know you've finished what you were doing. The critical shape represents information that's really important and if missed could have a major impact on whether the process is completed correctly or successfully. And finally, we have a plain text shape that sits on the background and doesn't have a color or border. We use these as headings and to help organize menus and home flows. As a contributor, your role allows you to share your knowledge and experience to improve the flows. For example, if you see something in this flow and you wanted to make a recommendation or a change to it, you would click on Draft, which takes you to the Change Request page. Anytime you would like to create a new flow or update existing flows, you must create a change request, which is like taking your own personal copy of the flows in the entry point so you can work on them outside of the live environment. Users viewing the live flows do not see what is in your change request. To start a change request, click New Change Request. Procedureflow will take you to a page where you must give your change request a title. Always create a title that describes the intent of what you plan on doing in your change request. And be specific with your description because this is what will show up in the change history for others to see and refer to in the future. Then, click Start Change Request. Now that your change request is created, you'll be taken to the Overview tab of the change request container. Here, you can see the details about the change request, such as what state the change request is in, who created it, and when. To begin editing, click into the Flows tab. Now, navigate to whatever flow you wish to begin your updates. Then, click the Edit Flow button, which will take you to the editing canvas, which appears as a pane overlaid on top of the change request container. If you prefer to view it in full screen mode, simply click the button with the arrows at the top right. You'll know you're on the editing canvas when you see the grid lines in the background and the shapes down the left side of the screen. You can add a shape to the canvas by simply clicking on it and dragging it to the canvas. Once you release it, a dialog box opens where you can add text. There's also the possibility of formatting the shape with pop-up text or as a link to another existing flow. If you need to create another brand new flow, this is also where you can do that. To edit an existing shape on the canvas, simply double-click on it or right-click on it and select Edit Shape. The same dialog box appears where you can make the changes. All shapes can be resized and repositioned. To resize a shape, simply select it and adjust it from one of the corners. Move it around by clicking on it and dragging it to where you want it to go. If you need to add images to your flow, use the Add Image button at the top. Once the dialog box opens, you can simply use your paste function if you had an image already saved to your clipboard. Otherwise, you can browse your computer for an image you have saved. Once you have all the shapes on your canvas, connect them with arrows using the connector function. You'll notice that small white circles appear at the connection points on your shapes. Simply hover over one of the connection points until it turns green, click and drag your arrow to the white circle on the shape you want it to go to until it also turns green, and release. Your shapes are now connected together. If you need to bend an arrow, just grab the green dot on the segment of the arrow that you want to bend, and move it to where you want the corner to be. And finally, you can edit arrows by labeling them or changing them from solid to dashed. Once you've made all the updates you needed to, and you want to submit your changes, click Save, then close the editing canvas by clicking the X at the top right corner. You're taken back to the Flows tab of the change request container, where you can see the draft view of your flows as they now look after your updates. This is also where you can test the end user's experience of the flow before submitting it for approval. If you're ready to submit your changes, click to the Changes tab. This brings you to a screen showing a side-by-side comparison of the current live version on the left and your updated version on the right. If you have changes to more than one flow in your draft, you'll be able to view the changes to each flow by clicking through them in the left menu bar. Once you're happy with what you see, confirm that the title of your change request is still accurate. If it needs to be updated before submitting it for approval, click the ellipsis at the top right, then Edit Change Request. In this screen, you can edit the title of your change request if you need to. This is also where you can delete your change request entirely if you realize you don't need to submit any of the changes in your change request. To get back to the change request container, click the link with the title of the change request in the breadcrumb at the top. If everything looks good, click Submit for approval. That's it. Your change request is now submitted to the approvals queue, where the folks responsible for reviewing and approving changes will review it. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the other videos in the Art of the Flow series.